Extra credit, extra credit, extra credit, extra credit.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Live, Prius, or Die Extra Credit. I'm your co-host, Mondo. In this series, we're going to be finishing up our interview with indie hip-hop artist Vyce Vursa. As we finish up this interview, we'll be talking about hip-hop beefs, Slim Jesus, and current state of hip-hop. We hope you enjoy this interview, and we'll see you soon.
So, how did trap come about? Is that kind of because I listen to some artists who they consider trap artists. Like you say, Young Thug. I've heard some of his tracks. I'm not exactly blown away.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Funny thing, real quick. I actually yesterday on the way home, I picked my son up from my mom's house after work, and I was driving home, and I told him I was like, we're gonna listen to Young Thug, and he kind of just like looked at me, and I was like, look, man, you've got all these younger dudes talking about how great Young Thug is. I want to see what the appeal is. So, I had on my Spotify, I went to Young Thug, and I could not get through an entire track of anything that I listened to. It was so awful to me. It was so terrible to me because I can't understand. First of all, I can't understand what that dude's saying.
Right.
And then his hooks, like I was listening to one of the songs, I can't remember the name of the song because who cares, but I was listening to it and like the verses were all right. Like he had some decent verses on there, but then you get to the hook and he was just repeating the same word over and over and over. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't sit here and listen to a dude be like, diamonds, diamonds, diamond. I can't do that.
Yeah. And that, well, again, how far in his career, and I'm not gonna single him out in particular, but I'm gonna say that how far in your career you're gonna go before people get tired of listening to what's hot now and they're told to listen to what's hot now. You can't carry. Eventually, you're gonna have to stand out somehow. But I'm looking at these what they consider trap artists. So it's considered what, like techno and rap, or more like electronic.
Trap is more like electronic and rap. Honestly, that would probably be a decent like 80. It's like old 808 rap mixed with electronic.
Okay, so you're taking stuff from older or supposedly older machinery, like you say with 808s, 909s, that kind of that kind of equipment, that hardware, and you're kind of doing some glitch editing, you're doing some things that they do now on the production side to make it sound current, but with older instruments.
Pretty much. I would say with trap, it's more, the things that define trap are more like harder hitting bass, like the more crisp, snappy snares, the real like I don't know if you ever heard of taser warm up, but that's what the hi-hats sound like. Just that click, just like clicking instead of like an actual open hi-hat, and some electronic sounds thrown in. That's probably the best way to describe trap. And then you've got your little effects where they kind of filter out some of the bass and then filter it back in, and kind of just screw with the sound a little bit.
I was just curious to see what would come up if I did a search for trap artists, and I gotta tell you, it's a wide spectrum that doesn't even encompass a lot.
Who's it giving you?
Oh, we've got artists people I listen to like RL Grime, Skrillex, Future, TNGHT, which I guess kind of it's that. But then you also have Young Jeezy, Young Thug, Fetty Wap. But then I did see. Are you familiar with who? I think it's DJ Vlad, and he has that YouTube channel, Vlad TV.
Yeah, I know DJ Vlad.
He was talking to, was it Slim Jesus? No.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about Slim Jesus? Slim Jesus. We can talk about Slim Jesus.
He was talking to him, and he was asking him about, what he was doing out there and where some of his influences were from trap music. And if you listen,
they call it drill music out there in I think it's Chicago.
Yeah, because that's where he's saying he's like from. I guess that's what he listens to. I don't think he's from Chicago.
No, he's from Hamilton, Ohio.
I never once in my life have I ever tried to say this is the neighborhood I grew up in. I'm gonna talk about catching bodies. I'm gonna talk about doing all this stuff out there because I knew people who were doing that stuff. I've got cousins that have been to jail for certain crimes that this kid's talking about. And what blew me away was, how are you going to sit there and say that? You look very well. You look like the only struggle you've ever been through was to decide what cereal that you wanted to eat that morning for breakfast and
gone. Oh man, I've got so many mixed feelings on that kid. Like, first of all, I don't know if you saw on YouTube. If anybody goes to my YouTube, it's Vyce Vursa Tile on YouTube, and the spelling VYCEVURSA, and then TYLE is on YouTube, or you could just Google me. Yeah, the YouTube, man. I've got a video on YouTube where I did this parody song of Slim Jesus. I did it because, man, I felt like, and that was even before the interview, but like when I watched the DJ Vlad interview, I was sitting there, and there's two things came up to me. One, I had to respect the fact that the kid was honest. At least he came out and was like, "No, I don't live that lifestyle. I'm just a fan of the music." Okay, I get that. But on the other end of it, you don't, like, I'm a fan of Young Jeezy's music, but I don't rap about selling cocaine because I don't sell cocaine. I mean, it's kind of common sense in this industry anyway. It's common sense that you don't write yourself up as some cartoony Scarface figure when you're fucking not.
Right.
It's ridiculous to portray yourself as something you're not. And this kid is finding out firsthand, having people walking up on stage and just snatching his microphone out of his hand.
Yeah.
He's finding out firsthand that was a terrible way to go. But then again, he literally made $1 million off of YouTube last year.
Well, and that's just it, though. You have to look at the other side of things too. Now, granted, I'm not going to give this kid any respect because I have, family, I have friends that live that lifestyle. But
I'm tied up. I'm tied up in some shit I won't discuss. But I'm tied up in a lot of that. I mean, I was involved in a lot of that stuff when I was younger, and I definitely don't respect him talking about it when he ain't a part of it.
Right, but then you look at the business side of this. Was he thinking, "Oh, if I do this, then it's going to draw all kind of negative publicity"? But it's publicity no matter what.
I think he knew.
He made $1 million off of YouTube by telling people that he was gonna, if you come down his block, you better watch it because that 40 will bang, or whatever he was saying. And I was like, the kid's kind of smart because he's making money off of something that he's not, and he's telling people, "Hey, I'm not this." So you can't really discredit the fact that he's living up to what he's saying he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's intelligent in the fact that it's a great marketing scheme, and he's not trying to come out and be like, "Yeah, I'll murder your family." He's just kind of like, "No, that's not me. That's just the music I write." So what do you got? I mean, that's the other end of these guys that are walking up on stage and snatching the microphone out of his hand. Okay, you just made him look like a bitch, but he's already openly admitted that he's a bitch. Like, I mean, you're not doing anything to discredit the kid because he's already said, "Hey, that's not me."
Yeah, there's not much more you can do for him. He's already done it. He honestly, if you think about it, he did pull that B Rabbit move from 8 Mile, where he just went up there and pretty much talked about himself.
Oh yeah,
what's he gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the intelligence behind that. But I think in the age where it's funnier, let's put it like this: I had out 2 music videos at the same time. One we spent a lot of time on. I put together for the Funk Volume Contest in 2014, which was the Don't Funk Up Our Beats Mike Murda track. I put out 2014 with a video we spent all day shooting and editing and putting together for the competition. I think it was 2 nights before it was due in because that's how tight the deadline was on that thing. And then there was the Slum Shady parody that I did. It took a year and a half almost to get over 1,000 views on Mike Murda, and it took literally 2 weeks to get 1,000 views on the Slim Jesus parody. That's pretty telltale of how the industry is, what direction we're going in. If it's funny to watch, people will watch it and share the shit out of it. If it's a serious track, if it's something I'm pouring my heart into, they could care less.
Again, it's what you're being told is what's hot. So with him being out in the news, people, they're gonna see well, what's this about? What's this about? And everything attached or surrounded to that is going to draw him attention.
I'm not gonna lie. As an artist, I've thought about doing some stuff like that. I mean, I've thought about putting together the brainless rap over auto tune crap. I've thought about putting together a painting myself as some kind of freaking drug kingpin just to get out there. But to me, it's not worth it. I can't keep up a lifestyle or a look of a lifestyle that I don't live. I don't have the patience for that, and I don't have the I don't have the patience to try to keep track of all those lies. I don't.
It's hard to live the life of your alter ego when your alter ego doesn't exist.
Yeah, a caricature. It's hard to live a cartoony life when you're a single dad who works afternoons during the week.
Yeah.
You know, I can't. That's who I am. I'm a single. I'm a single father that works 45 hours a week to support my kid and my household. Like, that's me. I've got no extra money to pretend that I'm anything but that.
Right.
You know, and there are things that I've talked about in my music that are a little harder. We were talking about the first half of the album being rather hard, and all that stuff is true. I mean, doesn't mean some of it's happening currently. But that's the joy of drawing from life experiences in the past, you know, or in the present, is that, you know, you can really dive into some of that stuff that, you know, you've experienced in the past and go, hey, you know what, this is what this is, and, you know, it holds true today. It might not be something that's happening right this second, but it holds true today. You know, if I was shot at yesterday and I talked about it in a song today, it doesn't make it any less viable because it happened 24 hours ago. You know, that's just, it's a life experience. So when you get people like, you know, Slim Jesus that come out here and just kind of listen to other people's music and then write music like that, eventually it's going to fall apart because he's not going to be able to draw from any kind of life experience to say, okay, this is what it feels like to go through that.
So I wanted to touch on one other thing before we end the interview. I have this fascination, most people do, with beefs in the industry, right? And I look at the history of it. It's more, I look at the history of how it all started, and really it didn't start with, I'm gonna dish you because I hate your fucking guts and we're done and you're garbage. It's, I'm gonna dish you because you dissed me on this track and this is how we're gonna handle everything. This is how we're gonna squash it. And now it's turned into, I'm coming after you to boost my album sales, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that with a couple of people. Now, there's friendly beefs where it's like a competition. Was it 50 Cent and Kanye West that had one? But it wasn't a right. It was friendly rivalry, you know?
That was, I think, with was it Curtis and Graduation or something like that?
Yeah. It was just like, who's gonna sell more albums? And you know, that's cool because you got to see that. Now, there were people who were into it. But then I see people who are into, say, the more recent ones, like with Drake and Meek Mill. Yeah, that one was done pretty quick.
That was insanity. I did not expect. Drake just kind of like, wow, just hit him with the 1-2 punch and then dropped a haymaker on him. Like, I've never seen anybody in the industry get bodied that quickly.
Well, yeah, it's usually drug out for a minute. There's usually 2 or 3 tracks, 2 from one person or 3 from one person, and then that's it. You know, you see that's the last blow, the nail in the coffin. That's it. So more recently, I've been watching, because I don't understand this guy's perspective. I've been watching The Game and Stitches.
Okay.
I don't know why this dude, because if you look at The Game, I like The Game's music. I do. I have since he came out. You know, a lot of his mixtapes that he dropped I thought were really good. His albums that have come out I thought were really good. I like the fact that he's in his community. I mean, the dude he's who he says he is.
Yeah.
So here you are, Stitches. You talk about selling cocaine in your videos and your music. You talk about, you know, selling keys and shooting people up and this kind of stuff. And I get he is in that life too. From what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, the videos that I've seen, you know, I'm looking at this from the outside. I don't know the guy.
But is he though? but But is he though?
So there are some questions. I'm not gonna lie. There are some people who raised some good questions. But this last thing that I saw, he went to a club in his home turf in Miami.
Talking about when he got knocked out by the game's manager.
Man, he stalked him for like 2 hours.
Yep.
And then the game comes out with his entourage, and he's like, I don't have time to deal with you. This is the man that has 4 cases pending against him.
Yeah.
One of which is against an officer, 3 of which are against hardened criminals. Now I'm using the terms that I've seen in the videos and the reports that I've read. So clearly this is a man you don't want to fuck with.
Right.
And this dude's out there. The decides to either is pulled away or decides to ignore this dude as he's leaving. But his manager's like, I'm sick of your mouth, and just knocks him out. And then Stitches gets arrested after being knocked out.
Yep.
So from my perspective, because I've had my ass whooped before,
right?
I'm done. You got it. I'm just gonna shut up and go over here and do my yeah. What if he turns around and goes straight to social media again? He start running his mouth and
then he gets jumped by his own entourage after that.
And there's all kind of rumors about that they were paid by some of the game's crew to do that. The game didn't beat your ass. His manager did on your home turf, right?
Right.
Then you get by your own people. What do you do? What are you trying to? Why aren't you stopping? Is my question. So I don't get it. Does this dude even have a deal? And if he does have a deal, is he trying to get his name out there? Going after this guy isn't the way to do it. I don't think.
I don't think Stitches has a deal. I think everything he's done independently. But this kind of falls back into Slim Jesus territory. To me.
Okay.
To me, it falls back into that same type of territory. And I think there's a lot of guys out there, like you got Riff Raff is another one, who is just fucking terrible. But people acknowledge that he's a rapper. And there's a lot of guys out there that like campaign for a minute actually smearing the shit out of Riff Raff on his own page and everything else because he's just garbage. And I had guys that were talking to me about, leave this man alone. He's just trying to have fun. He ain't portraying nothing to blah, blah, blah. But it's fraudulent. It's all fraudulent to me. So when you've got somebody like that that's just being blatantly fraudulent about what he is, and he won't answer any questions about his childhood, and we're talking about Riff Raff right now, won't answer any of his questions about childhood, and if he does, the answer always changes. It's always different. It's always and everybody's always talking about how he was such a good kid, made straight A's in school, was never got in trouble, and then now all of a sudden you got cornrows and you're wearing 27 different colors in one outfit, gold teeth, portraying this rapper. And then you got Stitches, who you look back into his childhood and he wasn't necessarily bad position either. And you go and tattoo a fucking AK on your face and Stitches on your face and run around talking about selling cocaine and this and that, and nobody can really substantiate your claims there either. And then you turn around and your own entourage beats your ass when you start messing with some other rapper, and you want to say that rapper paid. No, maybe what's happening here, buddy, is that your entourage is seeing that they're following a fallacy. To me, it's the same situation as Slim Jesus, only Stitches won't admit that he's full of shit. I think Stitches is full of shit. I think he's weak and he's got a glass jaw and he needs to sit down. To mess with somebody like the game, that's stupid, man. You're picking a fight with a guy who is clearly not afraid to and very, very capable of beating the ever-living shit out of you.
Well, and worse, again, you don't know what kind of connections that dude has. I mean, he's been around for a while. He hasn't been doing the rap thing for that long, and then now, again, you look at his criminal history, and I'm not trying to put the man's business out there because, again, I don't know either of these two people, but why pick that person? Why pick
He's fucking blood from Compton. Why are you picking on a blood from Compton?
Right.
That much you know about him.
Well, this concludes our interview series, part 2, with indie hip-hop artist Vyce Vursa. We hope you enjoyed this series as much as I enjoyed interviewing him. We'll hope to have him on again, and stay tuned for more Extra Credit. Live, Prius, or die. See you soon.
Extra credit, extra credit, extra credit, extra credit, extra credit.